Hey everyone, Whitney here, and this is episode 2 of my IGTV series called Your Gluten-Free Life. Now, if you missed episode 1, make sure to check it out because I talk about the #1 mistake that I see people make when they go gluten-free, so you're not going to want to miss out on that. So today's episode's super short and sweet. I just want to deliver a truth bomb to you that I think is going to blow your mind, and it might even really piss you off. It certainly did me when I found out. So, if you're like me, you've probably had the experience where you get a gluten exposure and you can't figure out where it came from. And I hear that from my clients all the time. Hey, Whitney, I do everything right. I read all the labels. I buy certified gluten-free food, or I make my food from scratch, and I never go out to restaurants. And then I get glutened and I don't know what the hell is going on, right? So if you're a meat eater, and in particular, if you like red meat, then you need to listen up, okay? Because you might be getting glutened from that big, beautiful steak on your plate. And I'm not shitting you, right? What happens is meat distributors and butchers, they will use what's called meat glue. And they take these smaller cuts of meat and they sprinkle it with meat glue, which is actually made from transglutaminase powder, which is a part of the wheat protein that's particularly problematic for people with celiac disease, right? But anyone with gluten sensitivity could react to transglutaminase powder. So they sprinkle it all over these smaller cuts of meat, and then they wrap it in this heavy-duty plastic wrap, and they compress it at very high pressure. And then when they unwrap it, they have a big, beautiful cut of meat that winds up on your plate full of gluten, right? What the fuck? Right? I mean, I don't even know how this is possible. I don't know how they get away with this. How is this some sort of a loophole through the labeling laws we have? I don't know. That's a conversation maybe for another episode. But how do you keep yourself safe? So what do you do? Okay, for starters, when you're out at a restaurant, instead of ordering a sirloin or a New York strip, order the Filet Mignon. I know it's pricier, but you're worth it, and I'm worth it. It's worth it to keep yourself safe every once in a while, to treat yourself to a beautiful filet mignon. It's that small little medallion cut. It's not going to be full of meat glue. It's a very specific, small, juicy, delicious cut of meat, right? So I'm not saying it's guaranteed safe, because I don't know what they're doing. But I think you're pretty safe if you're going to choose red meat in a restaurant. Choose the filet mignon, all right? And you might think to yourself, well, maybe I'll just choose the hamburger, right? Because, well, hamburger's ground and they're not going to be using meat glue in hamburger. But I don't know about that. I think that's still a little risky because sometimes they take their older cuts of meat and they grind it into hamburger because, the steak isn't so pretty anymore, but it's not really past being edible, so they just grind it up and turn it into hamburger. So hamburger's not necessarily safe at a restaurant, right? Or at your butcher. So what do you do when you're shopping for meat in the grocery store? Well, I'd stop doing that. I wouldn't buy meat from your local grocery store, certainly not from a butcher counter. Anytime that you see meat displayed, right? Whether it's at a butcher counter or in plastic individually wrapped packages, anytime that you can visually see that cut of meat, I would just forego it altogether. So what you want to do is you want to identify local ranchers in your area that are producing grass-fed meat. They usually have booths at the local farmers market. Go there. They're not trying to impress you with big, beautiful steaks. Everything comes frozen, pre-wrapped in butcher wrap paper. They're not putting their stuff together with meat glue. And the bonus is they're right there in front of you, right? You can ask them point blank, hey, I know this happens in the industry. Do you do this? And they're probably going to say no. I mean, I'd say 99% sure they're going to say no, right? All right, so that's how you keep yourself safe if you are a red meat eater, all right? I hope you found this valuable, and definitely stay tuned for next week's episode. I've got some more valuable information for you there. In the meantime, if you want to connect with me, just DM me, Whitney, hey Whitney, or I have questions. We'll start a conversation. You can also connect with me in the link below, and then just, set up a session with me to have a discovery call if you want to think about working together. Alrighty? Take care, guys. See you next week. Bye.